What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now Plus. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about Ghost of Tsushima Legends. Now, this was the first thing I saw yesterday when I woke up. Next was the Batman stuff, and obviously there'll be more stuff over the next coming days, but this really, honestly, caught me by surprise. So this is pretty much just going to be a video of discussing what's going to be in this mode or in this, update, and how excited I am for it. Because, again, this, and I saw people mentioning this on Twitter, too, this really came out of nowhere. They did an amazing job of hiding this. Funny enough, this game gets multiplayer before Last of Us Part 2, which, again, we know that factions, whatever they're going to be calling it, is going to be coming to Last of Us Part 2, but now we get it for Ghost of Tsushima. And, again, this looks honestly, outrageously good. And it's kind of funny timing because I was just, in terms of when the announcement happened, I just played Ghost of Tsushima that past night. So Sunday night, I played Ghost of Tsushima for like 3 hours and, just kind of jumping back in after like a week or so off of it and just, continuing to love it. I love every time I play this game. I'm taking a very, very slow approach to it, but I really love it. And now, to get this, I mean, this is exactly, it's not what the game needs because the game, I think, already is pretty darn solid and put together, but this is something that, again, I think they did such a good job of hiding, and I think adds a ton of value to this game. People were asking, and there's been interviews talking about, hey, could this game get a cooperative mode? Could this game get multiplayer? And they said, like, Ghost of Tsushima was planned to be a standalone, single-player thing. We'll see in the future. But for this to come, now, there was no mention of a PS5 version. This would have been a perfect thing, and maybe it still will, because they did say they have more things to announce. They're going to talk about it a little bit more as it gets closer. This would have been a really good thing to include with a PS5 version. Remember, I actually predicted that. I said, when you make a Last of Us Part 2 and a Ghost of Tsushima PS5 version, which I think there will be, like not necessarily a built from the ground up, but definitely a next-gen version, you can bundle it with something, an update. For Ghost of Tsushima, I said DLC. This is kind of the same thing, an update to it. So let's talk about what this is. Definitely a more supernatural twist on things, which honestly I love. I love the groundedness of Ghost of Tsushima. Honestly, this breaks it by like a lot, but honestly not in a bad way. Honestly, it's a situation where I think this is more of a fun thing, right? This is not necessarily a tack down thing, because that kind of makes it seem like it was like just thought of like in a second, but this definitely is an addition to it, right? Where it's like, okay, you have this base game, you have a very realistic, you have a very grounded, again, very much like samurai culture, even though they took some liberties with a lot of different things and they even admitted to that. But now this, more supernatural, more just over the topness, and there seems to be quite a bit going on with this. So you can play with a friend. There's a 2-player mode in which you can do side missions, and the side missions will gradually increase in difficulty, okay? And they talked about how some enemies or some things in this game, you're going to have to be very synchronized with your partner. So that is very cool. That, I believe they said you can play it with a person like next to you or even online, okay? So that's very cool. 4-player mode, that's the survive, that's like the wave-based mode. I love that. I think that's a really, we've seen that done in some games before. We've talked about, could that happen for like The Last of Us? Could they do a wave-based mode for The Last of Us Part 2? I think that would be absolutely incredible. Honestly, this gives me even more confidence that that will happen, because I would have even taken this in just the base game. Give me wave after wave after wave of enemies, constantly increasing in difficulty, and let me play with some friends. I think that's absolutely an amazing idea. And for this to be, again, more supernaturally, more over the top like that, and they even said, like, it's going to get progressively hard, right? It's progressively harder. It's going to be pretty amazing. We got that. And then also they said we have the raid. There's a raid that doesn't come with this update, but comes right after this update, where you'll be able to do a raid with you and then 3 others, so 4 people in all. I mean, come on. We don't know all that much about, each of the, specific things. Obviously, the trailer is only so long, but I'm really impressed. Honestly, this is not, again, like when I woke up Monday, this was the first thing I saw, and then Warner Bros. Montreal went after that. But this is absolutely an amazing thing. This game, I feel like, people have been saying, like, hey, it takes me 30, 40, 50 hours to beat this game. I feel like I've played this game like at least 25 to 30 hours, and I'm not even remotely close. I'm literally trying to do everything in this world, but I don't even feel like I'm halfway. So I probably can sink 50, 60 hours into this game, and maybe even more, right? So I'm perfectly content with what we have, but then to get additional content, and again, additional content where I was expecting if we would get something, it would be DLC, it would be additional, missions, it would be additional, story things, something like that, which is fine, and I would have taken that, and that's what I was even kind of like asking for, right? But in this way, they're adding additional stuff, but it's so different from the main game. It reminds me, and it's not the exact same thing. In fact, you could even argue it's not even close, but it reminds me a lot of like Undead Nightmare and like Red Dead. You know what I mean? Where it's like it's still the game, but it's so completely different. I mean, that did have wave-based modes. That just took it in a completely separate direction, right? There was all these different missions around the world with like that, a zombie kind of approach to it. Honestly, the more I actually say that, the more I do feel like this kind of is that. You know what I mean? It's not exactly the same, but it's taking a game that I think is fine on its own, right? And has plenty enough content, even though people have said like once you beat it, you are pretty much done. And hey, if that's true, which I'm not doubting those people, by the way, but if that's true, this definitely, I think, helps them. You know what I mean? That this definitely adds a ton of value to it. So this is taking that base game and then just doing something completely different with it. And so I think it can really help people, even like me, that's still, honestly, if we're being honest with each other, especially with all the games that are coming out and that I'm getting, I'm probably still not going to have beaten the game by the time this update comes out, okay? I'm willing to bet that would happen. So for me, it's like, well, I can keep playing the story, but then if I feel like, hey, you know what, I want to try a multiplayer kind of experience with this game, let's one night just jump into this, then I can do that. You know what I mean? Or for people that have already beaten the game, maybe they've put it down and they'll say, you know what, I may come back to it at a later date. Well, now those people can come back to it. So really, a lot of very positive things can come out of something like this. So guys, let me know in the comments below. What do you think? Were you surprised by this? Are you pumped to play it? What are you more excited for? Honestly, it seems like three very different things. The raid, the 4-player wave-based thing, and then the 2-player like story mission. So let me know what you guys are most excited for. I'd love to do something with this, play it with you guys. If you guys haven't friended me on PlayStation, my name's Podcast Now. There's a space in between that. It's a Nathan Drake picture. I would love to play something like this with a group of you guys when the game comes out, and we'll talk about that more on this channel and on Podcast Now, okay? Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed. Have the bell icon turned on. I do a new video on this channel every single day, so you guys can always expect a new video the next day, okay? Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all there.